The following brief has been created with open source information found in books as well as on the internet. However, do take it with a pinch of salt, however, as some aspects have been kept secret due to said country's Official Secrets Act, or we just don't know, and sometimes the best place is actually Wikipedia. So with that said and done, let's get started with today's video. Before we start today's video, I'd like to say thank you very much to 090giver090 for the pronunciation for these Russian warships' names. Let's just put it this way, the pre-uploaded version of this video was not great when it came to the Russian pronunciation, so hopefully this one is a lot better. The Krivak class, or as the Soviets would designate them, the Project 1135 Storm Petrel, was a series of frigates and guard ships built by the Soviet Union for the Soviet Navy since 1970. The Soviets would build overall 41 vessels, 17 Krivak 1s, 11 Krivak 2s, 8 Krivak 3s with an additional one cancelled, and 4 were modified into Krivak 4s. These vessels would all have the same hull with moderately the same weapon systems, but as the subclasses came about, these would change. They would displace 3,300 tons as standard and 3,900 tons at full load. They would be small frigates with a length of about 123.5 metres, a beam of 14.1 metres, and having a draft of 4.6 metres. The power plant would consist of a COGAG system, consisting of 2 gas turbines and 2 cruising turbines, giving these ships a top speed of 32 knots. The range would be 4,600 nautical miles at 20 knots, or 1,600 nautical miles at 30 knots. The ship's complement would consist of around 180 officers and listed personnel. The ships, as they are Russian, would actually have a disappointing amount of radars. So I'll cover the Krivak 1 and 2s first, as they actually have quite a similar weapons and radar loadout. The radar fit would include 1 HeadNet Charlie early warning 3-dimensional echo band radar with a range of about 70 nautical miles, 1 Donkey spin through or Don-2 navigational India band radar. They could also sport 2 palm front navigational radars of the same frequency band. Rough range is about 30 nautical miles. 2 eyeball fire control radars for the SSN-14 Celix, 2 pop group fire control radars for the SAN-4 Gecko surface-to-air missile system, 1 Owl Screech Gulf band fire control radar fitted to the Krivak 1s, 1 Kite Screech Hotel India and Kilo band radar fitted to the Krivak 2s. The sonars would include a bow-mounted active search and attack sonar operating in a medium frequency, as well as a variable depth sonar. Electronic support and countermeasures consist of 2 bell shroud and 2 bell squat receivers. The weapons of a Krivak 1 would consist of 2 JULS 3-inch 60 caliber guns facing aft, capable of 80 degrees of elevation and spitting out 60 rounds per minute out to 8.2 nautical miles. 2 twin-arm SAN-4 Gecko surface-to-air missiles, capable of downing targets between 30 and 10,000 feet out to 8 nautical miles and Mach 2.5. Each twin-arm launcher carries 20 missiles each, meaning 10 missiles per arm. 1 quad hot dog launcher for SSN-16 Celix anti-ship and anti-submarine missiles, utilizing command guidance out to 30 nautical miles at Mach 0.95, utilizing the Type 93 torpedo, which is an active and passive search torpedo, which has a range of about 8.1 nautical miles. In the ship-to-ship role, it has a range of 19 nautical miles with half a ton of explosive in the warhead. 2 quad torpedoes for the Type 53 dual-purpose torpedoes, capable of 45 knots out to 10.8 nautical miles. 2 RBU 6000 12-barrel trainable anti-submarine warfare mortars, capable of firing out to 6,000 metres. In addition to that, they have rails for 20 mines. When it comes to the Krivak 2s, they would swap out the 3-inch guns for a 3.9-inch gun, capable of again 80 degrees of elevation, but this time with 80 rounds per minute out to 8.2 nautical miles. The Krivak 3 vessels would be fitted with 1 top plate early warning tracking Delta/Echo band frequency radar. This radar is capable of 360 degree coverage on 2 separate faces, capable of detecting targets out to 162 nautical miles and a vertical detection of about 27 nautical miles. 1 peel cone India band navigational radar, again with a range of about 35 nautical miles. This has now been changed to 2 palm frond emitters, 1 port, 1 starboard on the mast. 1 pop group fire control radar. As with the Krivak 2s, she will be fitted with a kite screech fire control radar, as well as 1 bass tilt fire control radar for the 30mm CIWS. Other than that, she would also have 1 high pole IFF transponder and 1 salt pot IFF receiver. These ships would be armed with 1 dual 3.9-inch gun located now on the forecastle, 2 30mm AK-630 CIWS capable of firing 3,000 rounds per minute out to 1.07 nautical miles, located 1 on the port side and 1 on the starboard side. 1 twin SAN-4 Gecko surface-to-air missile system, 2 RBU-6000 anti-submarine warfare mortars, as well as the same Type 53 torpedo tubes, 1 port, 1 starboard. The differences between the subclasses of the 1 and 2s, as well as the 3, is the 3 is capable of having a hangar as well as a flight deck. Now, this is to boost the anti-submarine warfare capabilities of the ship due to the ability to carry a Ka-27 Helix ASW helicopter. Also, it's for the KGB, so it will sport some very nice Border Force colours. Obviously, nowadays it's actually operated by the Border Force, but back in the day, it was operated by the KGB. The Krivak 1 vessels would be known as Bretelny, Bodry, Dostojny, Sferapai, Silny, Doblesny, Strowojewoy, Razuni, Razjasish, Druzhiny, Delterny, Ritizvi, Bezyavetny, Zadorny, Bezukireznaili, Ladny, and Pirovesti. The Krivak 2s would be the Rezvi, Rezki, Razetelny, Grozashini, Niyukrotelmi, Gromki, Besmeni, Grodlevey, Reen, Revnosny, and Petlevny. And finally, the Krivak 3s. These are a tough one to say. The Menzensky, Dzerzinski, Orel, Peskov, Andia, Kidrov, Vorovsky, and finally Getman Saragadachny. So the Krivak class, they would be designed in the late 1950s as a general purpose frigate. However, during the early 1960s, the design would mature into an anti-submarine ship. The ship's contracts would be divvied out to Yantar, Zardunov, Baltic and Zalviv shipyards, with the ship being first laid down by mid-July 1968, launching in late March 1970 and being commissioned just about a year later. Once completed in commission, the ships would be divvied out to the Baltic, Northern, Black and Pacific Sea fleets. The ships during their service careers would have one that was quiet, with the obvious exceptions of a select few who wanted to not have quiet ones and wanted to be known for something a little bit more grander than being just a random Krivak class vessel. In 1970, the ships being displayed on screen now would partake in ASW exercises and provide a Soviet presence in the vicinity of Egypt and Syria, whilst the Dostojny would take part in exercises in the area whilst transiting to Sovromorsk. Strozhevoy would form the basis of the Tom Clancy movie Hunt for Red October, but she was a Krivak 1 class frigate and not a Typhoon class SSBN fitted with a Caterpillar drive. So in this actual mutiny, the political commissar would actually take command of the ship and try and sail her to Leningrad, more alongside the cruiser Aurora, the symbol of the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, and protest about the Brezhnev era. Her mutiny does deserve its own special video at some point, so I will expand on it there. Now the Redvi would take part in a search and rescue mission in late October 1978 for a downed P-3 Orion MPA aircraft that crashed off the coast of the Kamchatka province. One might think that maybe the reincarnated entity of the Kamchatka from the Russo-Japanese War might have found itself in the Kamchatka province and mistook the aircraft as a flying Japanese torpedo boat. We may never know. Anyway, carrying on. So a few vessels of the 128th Brigade would make cultural stops to multiple international ports, like Helsinki, Tunisia, Cadiz, and Rostock. Now, over the years, multiple vessels would track US nuclear-powered cruisers through the seas of Japan, as well as others, with one being more famous, being in 1988 with the Black Sea bumping incident, where the Bezyetelny bumped into the USS Yorktown, a Batch 1 Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser. Now, Yorktown claimed that she was conducting an innocent passage through Soviet territorial waters. But innocent or not, it happened. So, believe whichever side of the story you want for that one. Now, one of the other jobs these vessels undertook was tracking of American SSBNs and SSNs, utilising the towed array and bow-mounted sonars. It is unclear if these ships would actually find any submarines, but we do know that a couple were picked up on the Soviets' own submarine listening posts. Now, at the end of the 1990s, and beginning of 1990s actually, the Krivaks would be starting to decommission and sold for scrap, as the Soviet Union was mid-collapse, the economy was absolutely destroyed, and, well, you know, they're trying to save some money somewhere. So, in light of that, loads would be scrapped. However, 4 ships would be upgraded to the Krivak 4 design. 4 ships would undergo the Krivak 4 design. Now, these modifications would replace the RBU 6000 ASW mortars with 2 quad SSN-25 Switchblade anti-ship missiles, as well as new radars such as the top plate radar, sonar, as well as ECM. Now, this was completed to a minimal number of ships, mainly of Krivak 1s, but the rest wouldn't actually get these refits because, funnily enough, the Soviet Union collapsed and basically burned in a big bonfire. So, current open source intelligence suggests that the Ladny, Pietervi, Dozeski, Oyol, and Hetman Seyedarjanchny, God, that was absolutely butchered, are currently in service with the Black Sea and Pacific fleets, with the latter in service with Ukraine. Successor class to this vessel would be the Talwar and Admiral Grigorovich classes, which are in service with India and the Russian Navy, respectively. Thank you very much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Before you go, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with my latest videos, as well as commenting, and if you want to, subscribe to the Patreon page to support the channel. All I need to say is, here's a sneak peek at next week's video.